Hey guys, Marsingin here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we're going to be taking a look at the AGL Super Vegeta with his EZA, full level 10 links. Of course, he was a sub EZA from the STR Super Vegeta event that released yesterday, which means you have to replay a bunch of the stages for stamina in order to get the medals for him. Very unfortunate that after having done this recently with a bunch of the other celebrations with the EZAs, they didn't give us missions in order to just get the extra set of medals unlocked. So after doing the Cell Juniors and the 16, I then had to sit down and go back through this to get the medals for this guy. So we're doing the showcase for him now. He definitely has a cool sticker effect, but his links are very interesting compared to the other Super Vegeta. Like, I didn't realize he had Z Fighters, and he is a Shattering the Limit unit. He's also a Super type character, which I know the other Super Vegeta is as well, but like this Vegeta at this point is still not on like Bond of Parent and Child. Obviously the Vegeta from the beginning of the Android saga, who is the actual Saiyan Day unit, is still an extreme character. But this Super Vegeta definitely has the potential to be very interesting. I've built him for full dodge, with a bit of additional. One of his skill orbs gives him 1 crit as well, but he's basically full dodge because he's on the team to be a support unit. His super attack does supreme damage to the enemy, it seals, and then he raises attack for 9 turns. So he can get a couple of stacks on the old attack stat there. But then he has attack and defense 150, additional 100% when performing a super. If HP is 50% or less when performing a super, he gets a guaranteed crit. So there's another reason why he doesn't really need crit in the hidden potential. He launches an additional attack that has a great chance of becoming a super, and then he has 30% damage reduction. Then he has a bunch of HP thresholds that if you meet them, you get an extra 20% damage reduction, 70% or less, 50% or less, or 30% or less. So if you're at 30% or less, you get all 3, which is an extra 60%. He has 90% damage reduction. So in some of the harder events, as long as he's not on turn 1, if he's coming in on the 2nd or 3rd turn and you've taken a big super on the turn before, he's going to have a pretty decent amount of damage reduction, which I think is going to help him out significantly. The problem is going to be if he is on the 1st turn. Like, you think about, even if we talk about just the global meta, like Fusion Zamasu AoE on turn 1. If this guy's on turn 1 and you're on full health, he only has 30% damage reduction. We'll check out his start of turn defense here, of course. And then, yeah, he is a support unit, so he gives all allies 1 key and attack and defense 25%. Then he gives an additional 2 key and attack and defense 25% for AGL, STR, and physical type allies. So 3 different typings get 50% and 3 key. When we look at some of the units on this Vegeta team, the Vegeta himself, unfortunately, is tech. But like King Vegeta, Future Gohan, Sword of Hope Trunks, these guys all getting this massive extra buff. Godku as well. I know Godku's not really like an optimal unit to use on Vegeta's team because he doesn't get his intro buff, what with there being multiple extreme characters on the team. But he's more so just here for still having that ability to dodge and everything, just being able to be like a defensive unit for the team here. But Super Vegeta starts out turn 1, 194k defense. So bearing in mind he has 30% damage reduction, he does get 100% attack and defense on Super. So he does go up to just below 400k, and then with the 30% damage reduction, that does actually mean that he would tank most normals in the game. I don't know about like post super attack for some of these big bosses that do raise their attack, but that's not too bad for tanking normals, at least when it comes to post super. But yeah, we'll see, because like I say, his biggest thing is going to be coming in on those turns against the big bosses when you're on lower HP. Because one of the things that we've talked about a lot in the since Vegeta came out, and we've talked about some of the buffs that his team will be getting from the anniversary, or obviously already has on JP, is units like the STR, Goku, and Vegeta who fuse into Vegito. So you can see here rocking about 4.5 million worth of attacks. Getting the seal is useful. There are some events where you can use that, especially early on. And then of course he gives the buff to units like Trunks, although they don't share a ton of links. But yeah, these bigger bosses, like if he's got the damage reduction, it's fine. So when we have these units like STR, Goku, and Vegeta that fuse into Vegito, you could start a turn on really, really low HP, fuse into Vegito, which then gives you the full heal. But because the buff for this Super Vegeta is at the start of the turn, then it means he would have that full damage reduction. And turns like that, he could end up looking like really, really strong. defensively. Because, I mean, you can think about how long units like the AGL Golden Freezer TUR stayed meta relevant until a bunch of events started banning him because he had a nuke leader skill. That's probably one of the most unfortunate tragedies for a unit in this game, right? Like, he only got banned from events because he has a nuking style leader skill and they didn't want you to nuke short, difficult events. But, like, he's not a unit that does any damage. Like, no one was using him as a nuker or anything, but he's actually useful as a defensive unit, and you can't use him in a bunch of events. But yeah, he stayed relevant for so long because 90% damage reduction is just ridiculous, right? It's like a super attack that does 1 million damage only does 100k, and that's before you even factor in any defense or anything. So this guy, if you're getting the turn where he's got 90% damage reduction, especially if he is a, you know, floating support unit, if he's getting tagged by a super after he's super attacked, if we're looking at a sort of around 400k level of defense, like, he's tanking a super, even like a 2 million damage super attack. Well, I guess technically what, even like a 4 million damage super attack? 10% left of that is 400k, so he's still tanking that. So basically, any super attack in the game, including like Beast Gohan, Gogeta from the anniversary, if you've got that 90% damage reduction, then post super attack, like, he's tanking their attacks, which is pretty crazy. So we got a couple of links here with the King Vegeta. His link set, I think, is probably the worst part of his kit when you compare him to like the other Super Vegeta. Like, Z Fighters is not really going to be super useful for some of the teams that he's on. Soul versus Soul is a pretty annoying link as well. I mean, there are some units on here, but look, I mean, not even a lot of units even really have that link. And then, of course, he is a Shattering the Limit unit instead of Fierce Battle. So he doesn't have the greatest link set, but I think he'd be interesting for a floating unit for this team. I think the only problem is he does kind of get in the way. Like, he clashes with the STR Super Vegeta because they have the same name, so of course they can't link. Oh god, Godku not getting the dodge again. You love to see that. We got the 6 orbs though, so it's not like we're going to take that much damage here. But I suppose, to be fair, I do kind of want to try and take some damage so we can see a turn where Vegeta actually has the damage reduction. But King Vegeta on rotation, remember, will give him 60% attack and defense, and then because he stacks for 9 turns, he'll have kept those stacks from the previous rotation that he was on. So now when he attacks, let's see what we're up to here. Yeah, 6.4. I mean, for a unit who is floating around just to provide a bunch of support, that's definitely not terrible, and he does have that built-in ability to do an additional that has a 70% chance to become a super. So a support unit that can have relatively good defense and kind of do a decent little chunk of extra damage is always appreciated. But I think the key, as I say, is really going to come down to how well is he going to tank some of these bigger bosses if you are coming into the turn with a little bit too much HP. And unfortunately, the answer is most likely going to be not very well. So we'll see how... we should probably, I guess the thing is with this guy, because he's not stacking defense or anything crazy like that, like the numbers that we're seeing pretty much going to be the same every turn, apart from that attack stat going up a little bit each time until the 9-turn stack runs out, and then of course that number drops down significantly. But I do want to get a turn where we transform. Hopefully we can kill Cell. Yeah, we should be able to because of Trunks. Kill Cell this turn, then we'll get the transformation with Vegeta on the next turn, so we actually have a Super Saiyan Vegeta for this guy to be next to. But honestly, it's a shame that he doesn't support tech. I feel like he'd potentially just be like an auto include on this team if he did support tech as well. So we've got 4 links active now, 194k with no support for defense, because none of these extra links that we're getting with Vegeta are providing any defense. So we do this. Now, we started the turn basically on full health, so again, we only have 30% damage reduction. So 400k defense post super. I mean, this cell doesn't hit that hard. Like, if this cell's hitting for 1 million, then he's still going to do like 700k. Vegeta has 400k defense, although it is extreme versus super as well. So to be fair, even from this cell, like this AGL Super Vegeta would still take a pretty decent chunk of damage from a super. And that is going to be his biggest issue when it comes to running him against any events that have even a sort of semi-relevant level of difficulty, right? So he's up to 6.8 here. We don't get the additional super from the passive this time. But I mean, he tanks normals for double digits. Like I say, most, especially on global, almost all normals, he will at least be tanking, because with the 30% plus 400k defense, that should be more than fine. But the issue is going to be tanking these bigger hits. So I think what we'll do is we'll quickly jump over to the Fusion Zamasu, because if I can get a rotation where he's on the second turn, and then we see him come in after taking a little bit of damage, and then we'll see how well he's able to tank the AoE. So let's jump over to Fusion Zamasu. Okay, so jumping into the Fusion Zamasu event, we did get him on turn 2. However, we didn't really take much damage in the first turn. King Vegeta took like 90k from the AoE, and then everyone else took double-digit damage. Tech Vegeta got supered after supering, so he took double-digit damage. So yeah, not exactly a great start. It means we are not below any of the extra HP thresholds. So Super Vegeta does only have the 30% damage reduction. Yeah, so he takes 210k. I mean, considering the amount that some other units do take, I guess it's not terrible. Like, it doesn't make him unrunnable, right, on this team. If you were going to run Vegeta's team, because Vegeta's team, for the most part, can be very, very good against Fusion Zamasu. There's not a lot of units really on there that are, you know, going to be getting blasted away. Like, you know, we've done some challenge runs on stream recently where we've tried using like Universe 6 and stuff like that, and there are units that get hit for 350k from like the AoE on a team that barely even gets to 700k defense, so 700k HP, so that's not good. So honestly, taking around 200k, and that's pre-super, so post-super it would be significantly less. I wonder if we'll see. If he gets supered here, he will die, but if he takes a normal, we should tank normals for double digits, but of course he's supered. Okay. Well, unfortunately, this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, right? Like, obviously, we wouldn't put him in slot 2 in a normal situation, but if we were jumping into an event like to beat this Zamasu stage with the new Vegeta team, and that super came in slot 3 on turn 1, or this second turn where we weren't below any of those extra HP thresholds. I mean, to be honest, even if we were we'd hit the first one, so we had an extra 20% damage reduction, we were still dead there, right, overall. So if we jump back in, all I did here, I should have set a different team so I didn't have to redo this part, but all I did was use the same team as the clear from yesterday and throw on AGL Super Vegeta. And of course, here he is on the first turn, but we will have the support from King Vegeta, so let's see. The AoE is in, could do this then, I guess. Because, yeah, we will take quite a bit of damage this turn then, all things considered, because the King Vegeta can take a decent bit of damage from the AoE if he doesn't dodge. If I was going to say, if Vegeta gets supered in slot 1 before he gets to attack, he takes a pretty decent amount of damage. Although, to be fair, King Vegeta is getting the 50% support from AGL Super Vegeta, and AGL Super Vegeta is getting the 60% support from King Vegeta, so both of them will look a little bit better on this turn, but AGL Super Vegeta will not be eating a super attack. Yeah, 177, and then he takes 95, so it's quite a bit of damage overall. It's the problem with Zamasu event, and it always has been, right? Having multiple units on the team that can't really eat his AoE very well. And then, yeah, there's the super on Super Vegeta again. So this is the problem. If Super Vegeta is on the team, and he's the one that eats a super, then he dies. So can we get at least one setup here where Super Vegeta's on the second turn and we actually do take a decent bit of damage? I mean, it's one of those things. We know if we're starting below 30% HP, then we just know that we are, you know, tanking everything for double digits. But the problem is, can we even get to that point, right? All right, so let's do this. Right, he is on the second turn, so let's see how much damage we are going to take here on the first turn. So we can put Vegeta slot 1. We've got the AoE there. Vegeta Gohan not the best against the AoEs, but so if we do that, then we can get, yeah, the 6 orbs for God Goku, and then grab those for you. So we should take a bit of damage here, but as long as we don't... Okay, he got supered, which he will live, but he'll take a lot of damage with it being the first attack of the turn. So as long as God Goku doesn't fail to dodge everything, we should have a decent starting turn for Super Vegeta now with that overall amount of damage reduction. So let's see how the turn plays out here, because Tech Vegeta will now tank everything else for double-digit damage, because there's only normals left to go, plus the AoE. God Goku, if he doesn't dodge the AoE, we did get the 6 orbs, so he has the guard, but he will still take, it's not like he takes double-digit damage when he's got no stacks. And then Future Gohan obviously doesn't have his full damage reduction or anything before attacking, so he will take some damage from the AoE, but then won't take damage after he's attacked. So we should almost certainly live the turn, but if we can take a bit of extra damage here, that would be good for the threshold for Super Vegeta. Yeah, so he takes 97k. I think we are, did we drop below 50? I think we should drop below 50%, so that gives Super Vegeta those 2 extra levels of his damage reduction, which does mean he would have 70%, which is a significant increase, right? That's where we start talking about, like, even pre-super, he should tank the AoE for double-digit damage if he's got 70% damage reduction. But we'll see how... Actually, I didn't see who else was on the other rotation, because if King Vegeta's on the rotation as well, then, of course, he's getting that extra support. So we'll see. I think we are, like, right on the cusp of, like, 50% HP. And, of course, Future Gohan is just going to take double-digit damage from everything. So I don't actually think... I don't know. It's really hard to tell from the segments at the bottom sometimes, like, actually just how much HP you are on. But, yeah, I think we are just on the cusp of being at 50%. But, yeah, Gohan getting a bunch of extra supers off here. I mean, I suppose we can tell just by looking at how much HP we actually have, right? So we have 600k, and we are below 300. So, yeah, we are below 50%. All right, so we got no extra support on the rotation. We got 50% HP. So we're starting the turn with 70% damage reduction. So if we go ahead and do... Let me just double check, because it is start of turn, isn't it? Yeah, start of turn. So it means it now doesn't matter if we then go ahead and, like, heal with orbs. Which, unfortunately, I can't get a super for Vegeta unless I... let's do this. Do this. Because I do want to... That's the other thing as well. If you're dropping to 30% for him to get 90% damage reduction, that, of course, does then mean you are still in a situation where you have super low HP on that rotation. So, Vegeta with the dodge. Let's go. Alright, so let's see this AoE. So the AoE should do double-digit damage, I think, against Super Vegeta. He's still only rocking around 200k defense start of turn, but he has 70% damage reduction on this rotation. So, should be double-digit damage. Yeah, there you go. So, that's where he's going to look really, really good, right? If he's not on turn 1 in these difficult situations, and you do lose a bit of HP, because, of course, we saw in the very first part of this Fusion Zamasu, like, section, he was on turn 2, but we hadn't even dropped below the 70%, so then he starts taking a lot of damage. Also, I think that was the first time he dodged, and he has a full dodge build, so rip the RNG for that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. I think he definitely could be useful, but I do think he's one of those units where you're going to be taking a gamble, and if you are taking him into one of these tough events, and you just end up in one of those situations where he comes onto the rotation, but you're on full health, then you're basically just going to be crossing your fingers at that point that he doesn't take a really big attack. Otherwise, it's basically GG, which, you know, usually if you're going to be taking on these big events, you kind of want to bring units that you can be a little bit more consistent or a bit more reliable. And, you know, sometimes you're going to clutch it out and you're going to get those turns where you start at like 30% HP, and you could probably even at that point just put him in slot 1. But then there's going to be other times like where he's on, you know, you start the turn on full HP, and whether or not, you know, if it's an AoE boss, that's an issue as well. But it's always that RNG, right? If the super attack comes his way, then he's going to be dead. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. He definitely has potential, but a little bit of a risky unit. Let me know your thoughts down below. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.